What's up, fam? Welcome back to Second Cup. I'm your host, Tim Heller. My guest on the show today is the one and only Joe Troy. Joe is a multi-award-winning British voiceover artist, musician, author, and podcaster from London, England. He's worked with some of the biggest brands and companies in the world, such as the BBC, Spotify, Moncler, Nike, PlayStation, and Atlantic Records, just to name a few. Joe is also the host of his very own podcast, A Voiceovers Audio Adventure, which is about the voiceover and audio industry, and he's also written an ebook covering how to get started in the voiceover industry titled How to Get Started in Voiceover for Complete Beginners. Now it's time to top off your beverage, get comfy, and enjoy this episode of Second Cup featuring my friend, Joe Troy. Oh boy, Joe Troy coming at us all the way from across the pond in London, England. Joe, good morning, good afternoon. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. It's not too late. So yeah, I was saying to the team that this is my first coffee today. So it's not a second cup, but I'll
Okay,
make it count
okay.
anyway. But yeah, thank
Oh,
you for
man.
having me. Yeah, just excited for today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for making the time to do this, and thanks for reaching out to be a part of the show. I actually have that exact same mug. My wife's name is Jess, and so she's got the J, I've got the T. I saw that, I was like, I know that mug.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, this was actually a gift from my girlfriend's mom. She actually gave it to me the other day.
aw,
So yeah, shout out to her.
great taste. I
Yeah.
love those cups. They make me feel so much cooler and fancier than I actually am.
Mm.
Joe, can you just give us a quick background rundown of who you are, where you're at, what you do?
So I'm a voiceover. I've been dabbling in voiceover for throughout the years, and in 2020 is when I basically was like, "Let's go, let's make it, let's give it a go and see where it takes me." And then literally 6 to 12 months, been lucky enough to call it my job, and it's been my job ever since. So, yeah, that's the really condensed version of my story so far. But yeah, I enjoy it, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like from a lot of folks that I've talked to, and in my experience as well, 2020 was
Mm,
not only a huge year for for the entire planet, but it was
yeah.
for voiceover talent specifically. It really kind of made or broke a lot of people's careers, and for most everybody I've spoken with, it's only
Mm.
increased the amount of work they had because everything went remote. Is that kind of what your experience was?
Yeah. Yeah, well, because I kind of really started in 2020, this is all I've ever known. So it's interesting to talk to people that's been around for a lot longer who said, yeah, we used to go to studios all the time and like we only had to buy studios in 2020 kind of thing. And I was like, wow, like I think I prefer it now if I had to choose out the two because I'm a homebody. I like working from my house. Obviously I
Yeah.
like going into studios occasionally, but as you know, most jobs that you do take about 20 minutes. So going to a studio and then having to do 20 minutes and then coming all the way back is kind of like, you know, doesn't make sense. So yeah, this is what I've known. So yeah, it's interesting to hear elder statesmen's views about stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is. I had a very brief taste of it because I got started kind of,
Mm,
I think, really starting and working in like early 2018 and
okay.
mid 2018, like going whole hog into it. And so I had some of that running at the time. I lived in New York City, and I remember taking an hour and a half subway trip all the way downtown to a studio
Mm,
on Wall Street or John Street down
yeah,
near Wall Street and doing a 2-second audition and then hoofing it all the way back to Queens. But there was something so
it's
fun and
crazy.
special about like being in person with everybody. And I love, where the industry is at now in terms of the accommodations and remote work, but and it's allowed us to, move to Texas and build our a studio and have our house and everything. But it's those in-person sessions are still special when they happen, as few and far between as they may be.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely. When they do happen for especially like games and stuff like that, it's like a day out. You're like, oh, I've got a game today, and we have
yeah,
to get ready. I have to,
it's
like,
it's a
and
field trip.
it's nice, but exactly. But yeah, I do enjoy the. I enjoy the balance, the balance of the job. Yeah, I definitely do.
That's awesome. And so what were you doing before you got into voiceover? And how did you find it and really like what has your journey been? Because and I know you talk about it a lot on your podcast,
Yeah.
uh a
Mm.
voiceovers audio adventure. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about like before you got into voiceover, what were you doing and what was that draw into the VO industry?
So aside from, the 9 to 5 work, so my 9 to 5 experience is like artwork, production. So I would be involved in the designing and the creation of packages, whatever they may be. So I was at PlayStation before lockdown. And so I
Oh
was
wow.
working on the gaming like boxes and stuff like that. So anything that was on it, how it's laid out, etc. So I was working with designers, marketing. I was like the middle guy coordinating it all.
Wow.
But aside from that, my my how should I say? I've always been around music and all around the audio space. So the transition from vocal to voiceover wasn't that difficult for me. So I've been making music for since I can remember. I've traveled abroad, done shows abroad. I even lived in Japan for 2 years making music out there as well.
Wow.
2014 to 2016, I was there for. So yeah, that's my journey into it, and it was just something that I was told I could do, and I flirted with the idea before. But 2020, I first time in my life, believe it or not, I actually bought recording equipment, and I've always made music. Don't ask me why I've done that, but I think it was the fact that I couldn't. It's funny actually because I think it's the fact that I couldn't record at my actual studio where I would go before. And then I spoke to my engineer and I was like, I'm going to buy my own equipment. Can you help me out? And he kind of talked me through it, and I haven't really been back to him since. So he's probably pissed off. But
Little did he know that was the last conversation
yeah,
you'd
little
ever
did he
have.
know. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So when I do speak to him now, I do keep it non-music based and non-creative based. I'm like, how's life? How's the family? Kind of thing. But yeah, that's my background. That's where I kind of, that's where I learned the rope, so to speak, how to perform. Even though it's a different kind of performance, it was still how to deliver and how to convey emotions just using your voice and nothing else. So it kind of gave me the basics, the basic foundations.
Yeah, that's really, it's just a shame it's been such a boring life for you, Joe. It sounds really, really
Yeah,
bland. Living in Japan, designing gaming
really.
boxes. It's that's so
Yeah.
so cool. I can honestly say I have never met anybody who has done any of those things. So
Oh, okay.
that's fantastic. I mean, the designing the game boxes and all of that. It sounds fun and wild. So when you
Yeah,
first got into
yeah.
voiceover, what is it like? Because I know firsthand what it's like to get started here in the States, and I've only heard bits and pieces from friends and colleagues in the UK what it's like to get started there. But how did you break in, and what were those points of entry that that you would go back and do again, or go back and do differently?
I feel well, I started on the freelance sites. So I can't remember Fiverr I still use to this day, but there was a few other ones that I used coming up. Um, but it happens so quickly. It's kind of like, what would I actually change? Because every day I'm just like blessed. I'm like, I was so lucky to, the trajectory is just so steep. So I literally just made a demo myself, got it mixed. I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't. I just done it and put it on Fiverr and just let it sit there. And within a few weeks, I got my first job. I think I got paid $15 for my first job. And then it was a small job. I was like excited. It's like, oh, I got a job. Like that's cool. And then another one came through, and then another one came through, and then it kept going on. And I think the only thing I probably would change if I could, and it's only really minute, is maybe gone down the route of coaching a bit earlier, um,
Mm,
only because I am self-taught for the most part, but I think if I did get maybe one or two coaching lessons here and there, I think I might be a bit more developed in maybe the gaming aspect of things, or knowing what I liked or what I didn't like. Because I was just trying things
yeah.
out, and like for example, I remember um I got a call about an audio book. Now this was before I had an agent or anything. Got a message on Fiverr, and they said, "Can you do an audio book for me?" And I was like, "Okay, I know this is going to be a lot of work. I don't know what is involved in recording audio books, but I was like, okay, go on YouTube, looked it up, saw these different things. It was, my brain was just like, in the end, I didn't do it, but I was trying to convince myself I could do it and I should
Yeah.
do it. But then at the same time, I was like, why do I have to do it? Like, I'm enjoying the commercial stuff, the narrative stuff. Um, you don't have to do everything basically, in short form. Like,
Yeah.
whereas and I know that now. Whereas beginning, I was wasting time doing stuff that I had no interest in, I didn't care for. And that's not to say I wouldn't do an audiobook now if it was right fit for me, but it's
Hmm.
not natural to me. And that goes with some other um sides of the industry as well, that I'm just like, it's not for me, and that's okay. And that's what I
Yeah. It's
when people are entering the industry now and they're asking me these questions, I'm like, just be yourself, just be true to yourself, and that's the main thing.
mm, 100%. And it's so important to develop those boundaries as early as you possibly can. And in your case, it sounds like
Mm,
you did. And it's also, and, everybody's got a different journey in VO. And I feel like for me, at least, it was super important to try a little bit of everything. When I tell everybody
mm,
when they're asking about getting started and what it's like in early days, it's,
mm.
you have to. I say just go throw as much pasta at the wall as you can. Try as many different things, so that definitively, like, I don't want to do audiobooks, or I don't want to do political ads, or whatever it may be, um, because
Mm.
it's a business and you need to economize your time. And there are people that I know that jam on audiobooks all day, every day, and that is their thing, and that is beautiful for them. Can't be that for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you with that one.
So with your podcast, Joe, what drew you to that? What drew you to wanting to start something like that? And for those listening to Second Cup right now, you should 100% go check out Joe's podcast. It's really, really educational, and it's also really vibey and like kind of like calming as well. As you can hear, Joe's voice is fantastic, but with the music aspect of it and his storytelling capability, it's different from this podcast in that you are primarily speaking solo and writing out these scripts and doing this huge endeavor that is something that intimidates intimidates me.
Yeah, the reason why I did it is because, because I got into a time where I had to teach myself. I kind of was learning along the way, and there was still a lot that I wanted to learn, but didn't know how to access that information. So the the podcast is kind of like my me educating myself, as well as giving
Mm,
back to people that are what I was in 2020, basically. Um,
mm-hmm.
it's kind of a cultural exchange, so to speak. So I'm learning, I'm meeting people. I wouldn't be here speaking to you right now if I wasn't making a podcast. And these are these little things that I kind of took from music as well. And I kind of treat um, the voiceover acting entertainment like I did with music, where it was all about collaboration, all about meeting people and learning from one another. And I think because I was doing a lot of other people's scripts, um, more so than not, I didn't connect with a lot of them. So I kind of was missing that creativity where I wanted to write stuff and deliver stuff. And that's kind of where the podcast came in. And it was just ticking all the boxes, all the things that I needed at the time, and that's where I am now. So it's just a learning exercise and just a way to be creative.
I love that, Joe. And that honestly, I resonate with that so much because that's why I started this, was because I was heading into a gig that was going to have me working from early morning until late in the afternoon every day, 5 days a week in the studio, which is awesome. But
Mm,
I had committed to just trying to be creative, to create instead of just consume all this content that's constantly being pumped out last year. And
mm,
it's a great, I think it's an honorable thing to do, to try to learn and build something in the public sphere and to put it out there and to be able to look back at it and go,
mm.
"Ooh, okay, cool. That was the first episode, and now we're 5 years later with an Emmy, and it's, okay, cool, cool." But I think it's important for
Mm,
people to see because
mm.
it demonstrates process when so much of what we see in social media and in media is just the product.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the thing. We're all learning, and I think being transparent is the greatest thing you can do because it humanizes everything. None of us are experts. We're all experts in a sense because we're all learning our own way and we're all on our own road. So we all have something to offer, but at the same time, everybody's going to take what they want from every
Mhm.
avenue that they can, and they're going to make it relevant to themselves. So that's why I come in through from the standpoint of I don't know. I'm going to ask the questions that I want to answer, and then you take from what you want, and I'll take the same. It's not like this is how
Yeah.
you do an audiobook now. This is it. I told
This
you
is
so.
Joe
Like
Troy.
I'm not doing that. Yeah,
If you don't follow this,
that's
then you
that's
won't
that's
succeed.
exactly, yeah. So and I
Oh,
hate
me
people
too.
like that. Like kudos to them if they want to do it like that, but I cannot. I just can't. And I think, even though I said I wanted coaching in the beginning, looking back at the time, that's why I didn't get coaching, because I when people tell me what to do, I'm like, oh, like, no, you don't get it. Like, we don't sound the same. I can't. Like, it's not happening. But once you get over that hump, and it is
Yeah,
what it
and I
is.
feel like the best coaches too are the ones that say, "Okay, this is my take on it. This is how I've been successful, or how I found success." Or they provide exercises. It's not an equate. They don't provide the formula for success. They say, all right, how do we get to it's they're acting teachers. How do we tell this story most effectively?
Yeah,
And instead of like, you have to buy 8 sessions from me now for £2,000, it's going to be like, okay, well, let's do like 2 sessions to make sure that we vibe, and then go out and practice, and then go out and put it to
yeah,
practical use. And if it still is working, great, then you may not need me again for a minute. But I
yeah,
always encourage
yeah,
people, because I don't, advertise that I coach or anything like that, but people will reach out to me and I'll help
yeah,
when I can. And I try to emphasize that, take what works from me and save the rest for later, and then go get as many other,
yeah,
opinions as you feel like you need. But like you said, it's really important to not cloud your brain and cloud your instincts too much with other people's opinions, and really
yeah,
listen to what your artist's intuition is with these reads and with how you
yeah.
want to run your business.
Exactly. It's funny that you said that actually about you coach or mentor people, because I do the same thing as well, but I don't advertise it. I don't. And it's like, why do I need to? It's like, if you want my help, ask me a question, come to me, we can speak. And if you want something a bit longer, then obviously we can talk about some kind
Yeah.
of exchange. But if just ask, because I've asked a lot of questions and I know how it is, and we all do. So but I don't think it's in me to be like, I'm a mentor, come to me because I have all the answers. Like, I don't feel
Yeah,
comfortable doing
and
that.
I have no issue with people who do that, and the people that I see, for the most part, at least on stateside portion of the industry,
Yeah,
they're wonderful people, and they really, really know what they're talking about,
yeah,
and they have built a system out of that has shown results. I think it's awesome. But I think
yeah.
I've been hyper aware of it because I've been in it for 5 years now, and you've been in it for
Yeah.
five-ish, three.
Free and
So
yeah,
it's
free, yeah,
um
yeah.
I just want to be careful. Like, I'm still learning so much. I feel like I've been in it for a minute, but
Yeah.
I have a long way to go, and we're
Mm,
growing as we go on
yeah.
this journey.
and it's always
Yeah,
changing as well. And yeah, it's always
just
changing,
2019 to 2020.
always.
It's
Exactly. It's
so
crazy.
you spoke a little bit on the community side of things with voiceover. What is the community in London like, and how have you built community or found community? Is it mostly online? Is it mostly in person?
So I can't remember how long it's been. I'm gonna say 2 years. I might be off by a few months, but somewhat. First of all, the community is amazing. Everyone's so giving and sharing of knowledge, and everyone's just nice that I've come across. There's a lot of social gatherings throughout the year that happen in London and up north as well. Um, which is in the beginning was really nice just to put a face to like seeing
Yeah.
them in person and just not just a little icon. Um, I started a WhatsApp group like about a year or so ago, and we talk once a month on like this and stuff like that, and we just communicate and just vent and just talk because as you know, we don't have offices to go in. We don't have co-workers, so
Yeah.
it's always nice to if you have a question or just want to ask how everyone's day is going. We do that, and I feel that's something that really helps. And yeah, we do in-person meetups as well. It's just about keeping everyone's hopes up because work can be really busy one minute, be really quiet another, and some people might feel a certain way and might want to vent about that, or it's just being there for each other, and that's what I tried to create. And like I said, in the UK for the most part, there's a really big community of the voiceover and acting scene, so
Yeah,
it's really
that's
good.
awesome. That's so cool that you created your own community. And I know a lot of folks who
Mm,
have done that, especially with the dawn of Clubhouse during shutdown and lockdown for everybody. And
mm,
podcasts are just people hanging out on Zoom and doing that, the via
yeah.
workouts.
What's it like in the States? Is it obviously like the States is huge compared to where I am, but what's it
I mean,
like?
similar. It's 99.9% of the people are freaking lovely and just the best. And I just went to
Yeah.
Voiceover Atlanta last week, or I don't know how long ago now. It felt like a wormhole, but that conference was it solidified a lot for me. And I think most importantly that all of these people that I have become friends with online over the past 5 years
Yeah.
and had never met in person were even more lovely in person than I expected them to be. And I already had a pretty high
Mm,
expectation of everybody, but it's, it is
yeah.
so supportive. People that I look up to and people I hadn't met coming up to me and saying, "Hey, we love your stuff. We love you on the podcast, or we love your social content that you
That's
put
cool.
out," and just trying to build that community there. But I mean, there's so many different groups that are either hyper localized or people from all around the world meeting together on Clubhouse. Um, and it's just a special place. And I come from like the theater and on-screen acting world, and so coming from that where it's I love all of that community as well, but there's definitely a little bit more of a there can be a little bit more of a clause out mentality of, oh, you got it, that means that you took from me. You got the gig, then it's
Oh.
then you're my direct competition. I'm so happy for you, but bless your heart. And and it's so different in voiceover where it is I have gotten some of my biggest projects and clients from people in the industry who were like, "Hey, like I had booked this, but now I'm not available for it. Do you want it?" Or "I don't think I'm right for this, but I think you're right for it. Do you want this?" And it's this
Yeah.
generosity and level of community that's really impressive.
Why is it like that though? Like I'm not complaining, but it's really strange because music's competitive,
Yeah.
acting's competitive, but for some reason voiceover for the most part isn't competitive because I always think of it as voices are so distinct that you can't argue if somebody doesn't want your voice for a role. You're only being judged on that voice, and if it's not your voice they want, then what can you do about it? Whereas I think maybe with acting, you can there's your look, there's your the way you carry
Yeah.
yourself. Then also there's politics involved, like who do you know? And it's really strange that I don't know
You
why
know,
it's
I don't
like that.
either, and I think I think the only theory I have, and this will be changed, I'm sure, in one of those moments that I look back on in a couple months and go, "Ugh," but I feel like there's definitely an element of that the physical aspect is stripped away, and
Mm,
it is also a career that I've found that, you know, there are very few people who have been doing VO their entire life. It's so many people who have pivoted into voiceover and finding that there is this gratifying job that has the potential to really provide a beautiful life and lifestyle with your voice and a computer and the properly
mm,
treated space. It's a lot more than just that, but I feel like pivoting into it, there's everybody knows, so many people know what it's like to have just started out, but later in life, not come up
mm.
through it. So I feel like there's that and the physical aspect of like, oh, I can't see the other people that are auditioning for this that are going into the room right before me and thinking like,
Yeah,
oh, they're, you know, 4 inches taller than me and have 8 pounds more of muscle and 6 more abs than I do, and get bitter about it and start chopping yourself down before you even step up to
yeah,
the plate. It's just, you get the email, you do the work, you send it off, and that's it.
yeah. Yeah, it's
I don't
really
know. We'll have
strange.
to revisit
No,
that.
I'm not
Might start
complaining, like
asking
I
that
said.
question more often to guests as they come on who are voice talent, new and more seasoned.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, so short answer, very, very long. The community is amazing here in the States. It's really fantastic.
yeah,
And it's, you know, I'm looking forward to going to the One Voice conference in Dallas. I want to get to the One Voice conference in London at some point, which I would love to talk
yeah.
about your experience with that because you've taken home some hardware from that conference.
Yes, yes. It's coming up in May, I believe. So I can't remember time escapes me. I think so. 2021, I believe I won the best newcomer.
Congrats. That's
So
huge. That's
this
really
was
cool.
this, yeah, yeah. I know. Like at the time, I didn't even know what it was, and I just knew that I could enter. I think everybody was just coming out of lockdown at the time, so I didn't actually go in person, but yeah, I got a message from some people saying I won on the night. I was like, okay, like I didn't really grasp what happened because again, I'm so new to this. I'm just like, okay, I won. Like, and I think I've always kind of been like that. You know, anytime I've accomplished something, I don't
Takes
really
a minute for it to like settle
shout
in
about it.
and for you to
Yeah,
process.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah, I just like, okay, cool. Like, and then yeah, but yeah, I went last year. I got nominated last year as well. I didn't win last year, but that was the first time I actually went to the awards. It was a great time. Everyone came out dressed to the nines, and yeah, it's really enjoyable, entertaining. The conference itself is really good as well. Definitely would recommend you coming down if you can make it. But yeah, I'm going this year again, and hopefully, see if we win. But if not, then have a great time
Yeah, these
anyway.
conferences are so important, and if
Mm,
anybody listening has ever wanted to go to a VO conference and been hesitant about the cost, which I mean they are expensive. It's an investment to go, but I can't recommend it more because it is just I feel like
mm,
the most valuable parts of these conferences. Obviously, the panels and the workshops and the classes you can take are
yeah,
huge and incredibly valuable, especially if you get to go and get up on your feet and work with some of these folks. But it's
mm,
really the conversations that happen at lunch and at the bar and at just when everybody's, you know, everybody's exhausted, everybody's having a great time, and we're all just happy to
yeah,
be in person. That's this 1 or 2 times a
yeah.
year, but it's those relationships and those conversations that are the best
Yeah,
part.
and that's the thing. It's like we all know
Hmm.
each other because we literally look at our screens every day, seeing the same people. We know their life
Uh-huh.
inside out. But when you get in person, it's kind of like,
Oh my gosh,
hey,
you're real.
like,
What's
like,
going
hey,
what is this?
yeah, exactly. And it's really like that's the part I enjoy the most. Just communicating in person and seeing them and just laughing and joking around because you can it's all good like through the phone but we're human beings and this is we need to talk to
Yeah.
people, you know. So yeah, that's probably the main thing that I take from these events. And it's always nice to go to the Hilton Hotel and dress up,
Little
and you
staycation
know, how
and
often you
yeah,
get to do that?
get a little
That's what I
bougie
mean. Yeah,
and
yeah.
party.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, Joe, what's next for you? What goals do you have, or what projects are you working on that you want people to know about? And what do you have going on? What's next?
Um, for me, it's just the podcast. That's what I'm working on right now. Just trying to continue to gain knowledge, not only through voiceover but also in the audio sphere, and learn to produce more. I think the next phase for me is producing more podcasts and content for other
Mm,
people. That's what I want to get involved in this year. Whether or not it happens is another story, but you know, as I said in the beginning of the conversation, I like to create things. I like to bounce ideas off of people and make things, and the podcast has allowed me to do it. But as I'm doing it by myself, it it hits a ceiling where I'm like, okay, I still am getting things from this, but there's more I want to do. So alongside of my podcast, I do want to work on other stuff. So that's the goal for this year, and just tightening my skills and experience. So that's what I want
that's
to do.
awesome. We'll have to. I know that this is not the last time that we're going to chat, but I definitely want to take
Uh,
that specific conversation offline. Just I know that experience all too well of just constantly feeling like you
mm,
want and need to be building something and surrounding yourself with people who can
yeah,
help you do that, and in turn you help them.
yeah.
Well, Joe, before
Mm.
I cut you loose here, and thank you again for making the time to do this and hanging out with me this morning and in your early afternoon. I have a couple of quick fire questions for you. So these are going to be just like whatever comes top of mind first. Try not to think too hard
Yeah.
about it.
Okay.
They're really, really intense. So it's going to be get ready for some real gotcha journalism here. It's
Okay.
okay. What's a
All right.
nickname you had as a kid? Jojo.
Jojo.
Who inspires you right now?
Oh wow.
All
My
right.
girlfriend.
What's a piece of content you can't stop consuming? It can be a creator on social, it can be a TV show, movie, book, magazine.
This is gonna be so. I watch a lot of streaming at the moment. So probably Kai Cenat. He's an American streamer.
Okay,
So yeah, I
awesome.
guess that. Yeah.
And last question, most intense question. You can only have pizza one last time. Where from? What's on it? And if you have any dietary issues or anything like that, there are zero consequences. It
Yeah.
is just the pure bliss of consuming pizza.
Do you know what? I'm gonna be controversial. You know what I'm gonna
I
say,
have
don't
two
you?
ideas. I have two ideas.
Okay, so the thing is, I'm a pescatarian, so I don't eat
Right.
ham, but I can have a, a vegan version of that, whatever that may be, and
I
pineapple.
I knew you were gonna say pineapple. That was my one thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know what? For Christmas, when I did eat meat, when I growing up, every Christmas day we would have ham and pineapple
Yep.
and egg.
Wait,
It
on
sounds
a
weird,
pizza?
doesn't
Egg
it?
on the
But
pizza
it
too?
just
I
no, no,
was
no,
like,
not on a
I can
pizza.
get behind that if it's like a
No,
if
no,
it's like a
no,
soft.
no. It was literally just so he would make a ham,
Yeah.
like an actual ham, and slice it up, and then he would fry pineapple
Yep.
rings on the side, and then he would like scramble up eggs. So that would be the lunch for the Christmas day. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know if he just decided to do it or if it was something in his family, but it
I'm here
worked,
for it.
and that's why I don't mind. That's why I don't mind ham and
Yeah, you know,
pineapple. Yeah.
I'm not in the camp of bashing pineapple on pizza. I think in it can be appropriate. It's not something that I order, but it's if it's presented to me, I'm an equal opportunity consumer of all pizzas.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, thank you again for coming on Second Cup here and hanging out this morning. And I'm really, really looking forward to keeping up with you and for the next time that we get to chat and hang out and create something
Yeah,
together.
yes. I'm yeah, hopefully be on for the third cup.
Oh, yeah.
Never know.
Hell yeah. All right, Joe, we'll talk to you soon.
Cool.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Second Cup with my friend Joe Troy. To keep tabs of what Joe has going on, you can follow him on all social media platforms at Joe Troy VO. You can also check out his ebook and his podcast on his website, joetroy.com. The Second Cup family has been hard at work building out a Patreon page and a sponsorship one-pager for everyone to check out should you be interested in supporting this show and all of the other shows that we have coming in the pipeline. So please make sure that you are subscribed, followed, all that good stuff to this show and to at Tim Heller Creative to keep tabs on everything we have coming your way. It's all very exciting, and we can't wait to share it with you. Huge shout out to everyone behind the scenes that's making this show happen. We have Alberth Bursey and Sarang Sharma of Arrive Productions in New York City, and Tara Seuss and Julia Shepard Morgan producing and keeping my head on straight. If you've enjoyed this episode of Second Cup or any of the other episodes that we have for your listening and watching enjoyment, please consider leaving a comment, a review on any of the podcast platforms, subscribing to our YouTube channel, following at Tim Heller Creative, and sharing them with a loved one. Each little step helps a ton along the way. Stay tuned for the next episode of Second Cup, where we talk to an amazing person about some really cool things. Later.